Well, hey YouTube, Petey Twofinger here. Happy 2020. They sold $3.2 million in legal marijuana here yesterday as marijuana became legal. We played Yahtzee. So today I'm talking about YouTube guitar channels. There's a lot of these people we look up to as YouTube rock stars, and what we're not realizing is they're paid shills. So just recently there was two of them that were exposed. Chappers was exposed for a bunch of ethical, like charity, weird stuff. And I'm not making any judgment. I'm just saying what the accusations were. Okay. So everything I talk about in this video is all, what do you call that? Speculation. I'm not really sure if it really happened, hearsay. So this guy with a 2,000 subscription channel, he goes to Spectre Media Group, SMG, Glenn Fricker, the guy, oh, your bass player sucks. That guy. Line 6 sucks. Hit it with a hammer. This is a guy who runs a guitar studio. He mics an amp and charges you for that and then tells you the only way to get good guitar tone is to mic an amp. So I was never good with Glenn Fricker. He really bothered me. I really didn't like how he rips on bass players and acts like his way or the highway. That's not to say you might learn from him. He's a brilliant guy. He knows his stuff. He's a professional. He knows how to run a recording studio, and I don't know anything about that. But he came out all of a sudden and was all cool with the Boss Katana amp. And there was another guy, Ola Englund, who said it was great, and then Rabia Masad. Ola Englund's a Swedish gent guy that people generally look to for giving fair reviews. Rabia Masad is an Australian gent guy who loved this katana. Now I'm reading, like my nephew got a guitar, a $600 Cort that was designed by Manson, the guy who does the Matt Bellamy Muse guitars. So he gets this guitar, and I go, are you going to get an amp? And he's like, oh, I don't really know what I'm going to get. And I said, well, you could get a Katana. I'm recommending the Boss Katana amp. Now, they had, because everyone was saying how great it was. And I'm like, wow, that Katana amp is good. I really thought it would be a bunch of hokum. Because Boss, all of a sudden, they had this Waza craft, which Waza was an ancient Chinese secret for good. And they would put this Waza symbol on these pedals, charge you twice as much for them. Like the MT2, the pedal that everyone loved to hate, all of a sudden became popular again. It was good because it was a craft. And you would not plug it into your preamp input, you would plug it into the power amp input. So people finally learned what a modeling device is and how to use it properly, and that becomes a thing. I just didn't really see it. Boss wheels out these Katana amps with this symbol on it. It's part of Waza craft. They had a little tiny cheap one, a medium, and then a big one. The big one was like $3,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're supposed to be the new thing, modeling amp like anything else. It's not like Line 6's modeling amp. And like I know the flagship Line 6 modeling amps has a bunch of speakers in it. It's got like a full range. Like there's a tweeters, there's mid ranges, there's woofers, all kinds of speakers in there. But this one has a singular speaker. So I'm thinking this must be some new modeling technology, because as far as I understand, if you take a full range speaker, then you can model other guitar speakers with that. But if you start with a guitar speaker that's not full range, you're stuck with that frequency response. So a modeling amp that uses a regular guitar speaker that isn't a full range system with a tweeter, a woofer, and a mid range, you can model with it, but it's really only going to sing when it's set up at those frequencies that that speaker emulates. You get what I'm saying? So the truth is coming out about the Katanas. They're overrated. Yes, they do sound good, and there are a couple of tones that they do that are matched up with that speaker, but they're not versatile like they claim. So this is nothing new. The Katana had this outrageous price tag because supposedly, but then in reality, no. And you have people like Glenn Fricker. Why is Glenn Fricker, the guy who hates modeling, saying the Katana? Because he works for Boss. That's why. Ola Englund gets a check from Boss, and so does Rabia Masad. So this is where we really need to be careful. And I'm no saint. All the time I see stuff and I start falling in love with it. I'm like, I gotta have that. And then I'll really read into it. I'll type in uh, line 6 helix versus X effects 2, and I'll see people that had both what they say. So go into forums, taking those extra steps of not just watching what you think is a demo, which is actually a paid review, and reading where people go, oh, I bought this, and this, and out of all of those, I put them in this order. This has this pro and con, this pro and con. So you start seeing more balanced reviews when you're going to the forum and talking about people that have owned this stuff. So that's all I'm advising you to do, is just take everything you see on YouTube. The slicker the production is, like if it's some kid in his basement and he's got a $25 imitation Chinese rat pedal, like a black mouse, and then he's got a real, like an old vintage rat from the 90s with LM308 chip, and then maybe the new rat, like the turbo rat. And he's going through this, he's playing this riff and then changing the pedal over. Like, those are the type of videos that I appreciate. But it's some overly slick production like the Captain and Chappers. I would never buy anything from those guys because I think it's just a paid advertisement. And this recently it all came out that there's a lot of stuff, accusations that have been made, personal stuff about charity and weird stuff with money. I don't want to get into detail and assassinate anyone's character. That's already been done. But this guy, he's got like 2,000 subscribers, went after 2 of these big name YouTuber guitar channels. And in Glenn Fricker's situation, what he did, he wrote him an email and said, hey, look, I'm this amp company, this guy that's coming out with these killer amps. And how about I send you one of my amps for free for you to review it, but I'm also going to send you some money on the side to make sure you give it a really good review. What do you think? And Glenn Fricker came back and said, yeah, buddy, when do you send the amp? And more importantly, when do I get my money? And so this guy with the 2,000 subscribers went ahead and made a video out of that, made an expose. So it's, if you ever watched a Glenn Fricker video and you were like grooving on it and you're thinking this guy really knows, like you're not a good judge of character. Every time I ever watched a Glenn Fricker video, I was like shaking my fist or yelling at the screen. That guy, he really, really bothered me. Now, that's not to say, like, I can handle Philip McKnight in small doses, but I also think he's a shill. That's his bread and butter. I can't take it for seriously. Like Daniel the Gig Rig, I love that channel, but I would never buy anything from them because they're selling stuff, right? Aren't they? I don't know. Out of all those guys, like Eichpie42 or Henning, he's the super creepy bald German guy, reviews everything. I actually think that guy gives pretty honest reviews, whether he's paid or not. But I can't stand him. I can't handle watching him. He's so weird sense of humor and creepy. I can't watch him. But the main point of this is we really don't want to get lured in and drink the Kool-Aid, like how I'm telling my nephew, the Katana, it's, good amp. Like, no, it's not. All of a sudden people are coming out. They've been out long enough where people are saying, look, it isn't anything special. It's not worth the money. But I was told by these people that the internet, we as YouTubers look at these guys and think, man, what I wouldn't do to have his chops or his studio or all of that, what that guy has. He's really a great guitar player. And what we're finding out is that stuff has a price tag attached to it. Those people, they're not just going to go on YouTube and give you this for free. They're going to go and work these companies and get something back for their time. They don't have all that gear and all that money and that success for nothing. So You need to be very leery of anything you see on YouTube. The slicker it is, the more chances are that they're not shooting straight. It's just an advertisement. It's not an honest review. So just be very leery of it. I really encourage you to start going and doing Google searches and try to find out information from independent like forums where people are just talking about their own personal experiences. And you'll find that at least you'll have something else to go on making your purchase rather than just some shill who's not telling you. Because believe me, I did demos for a couple of years. I worked for Vic Audio and Devi Ever and more. And I never appeared talking once. I always just, I would put together a piece of music. I would write a song using the pedal, using only the pedal, through an amp and cab sim. I used a bass amp sim on a Korg Pandora, and I had two different speaker simulators I would use. One had a rounded country curve and the other had a smiley faced rock curve, and whatever I needed for that application I would switch off back and forth, like for the bass or the guitar, because I would use the pedal on all the tracks, sometimes even on the drums, and you would just, that's all you would get. This is what this pedal sounds like in the same recording environment, and that's how I handled it. But what you're seeing is these people who are coming out like, oh, here's this amp, and I'm just reviewing it. They're not telling you, like, hey, they paid me a boatload of money to do this review, and that's wrong. So there's commercials that are disguised as reviews, and that's not right. So we just want to don't get caught up into this endless cycle of guessing where you're buying stuff that actually is the same thing, kind of what you might already have. It's just a little newer, and maybe it's got some more to it. But does it do that stuff any better? Are you going to keep what you already got? Or are you going to sell that and then buy this? Do you need to upgrade it? The chances are, if you're older, you're like not in your 20s or 30s, you've got what you need already. So it's a good thing to have what you need and just be able to inspire yourself by the act of picking up the guitar, not having to constantly be spending money to be able to come up with a new riff. Now if you can't, if you're loaded, like everything on my channel comes from no budget, zero budget of saving money and not spending. If I had a ton of money, I'd have all the Katana amps here right now, and I would know, good or bad, for myself. I can only go off the first impression I had that they were good, and now finding out that they're not so good. And the whole thing about them using a single guitar speaker with one frequency response versus a full range speaker setup, which means a tweeter, a mid-range, and a woofer, that hits home, because I know from trying myself by using my own modelers and then playing around with Class D power amp boards and building my own speaker cabinets and experimenting, using regular guitar speakers, adding crossovers and horns to try to produce a little bit of high end, and then just fully submitting to the dark side and going with full range type PA cabinet and finding out, whoa, there's a huge difference when you use a fully flat, like monitor type speaker, and it's way better. So that's what I've come to learn. That's where I'm at right now. I'm sure it won't be the same in 10 years if I'm still doing this, but good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Hopefully I can impart a little bit of that. I certainly don't know everything. This is a path. I'm a very amateurish guy doing this, and there are these wonderful players, these professionals that can make beautiful music playing these instruments. It's unfortunate that they're using that to fool people. So, all the best, Happy New Year, and peace. Let's be safe and smart consumers while we're out there playing our guitar. Let's realize that it isn't so much the gear that's doing the work, it's our fingers, our mind, our hearts, and our souls. All right, you guys, peace.